You know what they say, knowledge is power. But in this game that we're playing over here, well, data is what pays the damn bills. Today's guest doesn't just have the data, he is data. I'm talking about my man, DeVan Adams. You see, he's a senior analyst over at Omdia. It's also known as the Analyst Alchemist. You see, he's not just watching trends, he's shaping how suppliers and partners understand each other. This man lives in spreadsheets, but speaks fluent human. And let me tell you, when he pulls up in a knowledge is power shirt, oh yeah, you already know we're about to get surgical with it. So if you're in the channel and you're still making decisions based on your gut feelings and vibes alone, guess what? You're already way behind. In this episode, DeVan and I get into the 3 truths that might make some of y'all real uncomfortable. But you know, that's how we do it on this show. We're gonna talk about why the one-trick pony partner is on life support, why suppliers need to stop treating partners like cashiers, and how AI might be the best and worst thing that's ever happened to the channel. You see, here on Shut the Hell Up and Sell Unfiltered, we don't just toss opinions around. We bring on people who back their talk with the facts. And DeVan came locked and loaded. So whether you're a partner trying to get paid for life cycle value or a supplier wondering why your program's not landing, pull up a chair. The truth bombs are flying and DeVan's knocking them out of the park. Are y'all ready for this? Let's go.
Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out. What? Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out. Yeah.
Welcome to Shut the Hell Up and Sell Unfiltered, the podcast that's not afraid to tackle the uncomfortable truths and bad habits that keep you from reaching your potential. I'm your host, Ronnell Richards, award-winning sales expert, author, and top influencer in technology channel sales. Each week, I sit down with industry influencers and top performers for bold, honest conversations that are designed to cut through the noise and deliver real, actionable advice that you can apply immediately to grow your career and boost your sales success. No fluff, no excuses, just real talk, real influencers, and real results. Let's get into it.
Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out. Yeah.
All right, DeVan, you know I'm loving that shirt. And for those of you that are only listening to this, first of all, make sure you go to YouTube. Go to YouTube, go to Spotify, where you can get all of this visual brilliance. And I'm loving the shirt that you came with today. Tell me about it.
So the shirt is all about knowledge. It's all about how knowledge is power. And,
Yeah.
understanding how we as individuals need to constantly grow and improve ourselves. And one way of doing it is by reading. So there are a lot of books on here. I'm not gonna name all of them, but books by and or
Yeah, I think
about.
that's so apropos, man. It's so poignant. I'm sitting down having this conversation with an analyst, and I can't think of a better shirt to wear. And here's the thing. So first, before we get into all of this, I want to thank all of y'all for watching the show, for sharing it, for talking about it. I understand, that we are ending up in a lot of conversations over dinner and over drinks with where you guys are talking about some of the things we're talking about on this show. So I encourage you to get engaged, man. The whole one of the reasons why I'm doing this and why we're doing this is to create a dialogue, to create this communication, it's all about growth mindset. So even if you don't agree with everything, that's okay. I don't need you to agree. We don't need you to agree. We need you to think. Collectively, we're going to come together and we're going to help our industry continue to thrive, continue to evolve, and continue to grow. So, DeVan, I want to get into our rapport questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I got a few questions for you so that people can become a little bit better acquainted with you. First of all, what the hell is an analyst alchemist?
Analyst Alchemist. That is a great question. That's me. I am someone who, prides myself on being an analyst and someone who prides myself on being able to provide unique insights, based not only on my research but my background, and being able to be creative with it and being able to speak from my perspective. So being able to kind of conjure up a lot of different angles and views of analysis that most people may not look at because they don't have my experience.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's it. So if you make sure you all go and follow DeVan so you know what's going on in our industry because he's got the pulse of it. But that is the first thing listed on his profile title on LinkedIn is Analyst Alchemist. I thought that was super dope. All right. So I have a question for you. You seem like someone that has interesting hobbies. You're an introspective guy. So tell us, what is your most, I don't know, maybe irrational hobby that you spend way too much money on?
Oh man, my irrational hobby, to be honest with you, man, is really just, and I don't really spend a lot of money on it. It's just going out bike riding, and I live in
Ah,
Chicago. I know one of your
uh-huh.
previous guests, my guy Dave Dyson, lives in Chicago as well.
Dave Dyson, shout out to
He's
Dave.
actually someone we've actually had biking conversations with. And it's
Uh-huh.
something that I really enjoyed as I've gotten older. Right, I'm older now. I can't play basketball like I used to play basketball like every day when I was young. I suck at basketball now, to be honest with you. So I've,
Me
I've
too.
I've graduated to something a little bit more moderate, and that's bike riding. I still, fall on my bike a few times, get scuffed up, but it's not as bad as like twisting an ankle or tearing the ACL playing
You can still go
basketball.
to work on
Yeah,
Monday.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the older me version of my hobbies now, and it's free. I enjoy it. It's relaxing. You know it's very
Okay, road
e-bike
bike,
for sure.
mountain bike, hybrid bike, e-bike. What's your
Hybrid
deal?
e-bike for sure. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have a
I
car?
don't have a car. I
See, you're in Chicago. I figured that. Okay.
Yes.
I'm a little jealous. I want that. I want that simple life.
Yes, that is one of
All
the
right. So
biggest.
my second question for
Yes,
you is, are you a cooking at home or a dine out?
cooking at home.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a big dino.
What's your favorite thing to
My
cook?
favorite thing to cook is, I would say, corned beef. It's kind of challenging.
Corn. Okay.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, yeah.
Th- Yeah, that
Homemade
is.
corned beef. That's my thing.
If you gave me 10 guesses, I wouldn't have guessed anywhere near corned beef. So like you're talking about the whole pickling and all that, pickling spice and all
Yes,
that.
yeah. The whole brisket,
Wow.
making it from, yeah, man. That's my thing.
Okay. And your favorite way to eat that corned beef?
Just typical sandwich. You know what I mean? Just a
Oh, you got your own Cat's Deli
yeah.
situation
Get
going
my
on.
own bread, get
Okay.
my own, mustard and all that good stuff.
All right. Okay, y'all heard it here first. When you go to Chicago, you can get that DeVan sandwich, the corned beef Reuben. You do the Reubens? I do Reuben. Oh my God, nothing. I love Reubens. First of all, I'm a sandwich guy. If there is anything you must know about me, is that I love a good sandwich. So I'm going to test out your sandwich the next time
For
I'm up
sure.
there. But you better come correct. I'm
For
just telling you.
sure. For sure. I've mastered this over several years, so I'm pretty confident in my corned beef skills now.
Let's go. Okay. All right. So we've come to this point where I understand that you like corned beef sandwiches. Okay. You ride a bike. All right. That's all cool. We love it. Give us a little rapport so we know who the man is behind the knowledge. But I've been looking forward to this conversation for a minute. This show, we have some strong opinions on this platform, and that's part of what it's about. But not just strong opinions, we have strong opinions from people that are qualified to give those opinions, people that have the experience, people that, some dare I say, are legends in our industry, people that have put their blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. And that's why, it was so exciting for me to sit down and have a conversation with you, because unlike the rest of us, most of us, we go on a vibe and our experience, right? So, like, hey, this is how I feel, and I feel this way based upon my experience and the experience of others, where you form your opinions based upon data, based upon like real tangible insights. And in our conversations outside of this platform, which we're going to bring everybody into right now, it's been so not just eye-opening, but confirming for me to hear how some of the data really aligns with the messaging that's been on this show. So at this point in time, this is when this show becomes yours, my friend. So I want to turn over to you to share. We're going to start with and today we've got 3 topics that we're going to go through, but we want to start with the very first one. The very first topic that you've prepared, and then we're going to dig into how and why, and why you formed those your opinions. And guys, if you agree with us, fantastic. Let us know. If you disagree, fantastic. Let us know. All right. All right. The platform is yours, my friend. Come
Yeah,
with it. Bring that fastball
yeah,
straight down the
straight down
middle.
the middle. I think one of the things that I wanted to highlight is, based on my knowledge and based on my research, is understanding the importance of partners throughout the customer journey, and understanding how, and sometimes suppliers and vendors can only look at one part of the partner in terms of how they're engaging with customers and the transaction. So one of the things that I want to really highlight is saying, you know, look at the overall value that partners are bringing to the table. Don't just look at the transactional portion of it. And one of the things that I've mentioned to you is, saying, you know, for suppliers not to just look at partners like cashiers. Look at them as,
Mm-hmm.
business owners, right? They're not just the person at the register, hitting the number saying we got to sell, right? They're actually the people that are running the business, that are establishing the relationships, that are following up even after the sale, that are doing post-sale interactions, engagement, or should be doing post-sale. Now, we know not every partner fits this mode, but should be doing post-sale interactions with and engagements with customers, that should be building up relationships with customers before they even get to that sale, and as a result should be recognized for those engagements. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I really want to bring to the table, is understanding that life
What
cycle.
informs your opinion on that?
So,
Why do you
so
feel that
one of
way?
the things that we've done research on, and this is actually research from our Canalys team, is that we ask partners, how do you want to be rewarded and incentivized? The number one benefit, 36% was number one in this study, said they want to be incentivized and paid for activities across the customer lifecycle, which includes
Okay.
pre-sale and post-sale activities, right? And not be looked at as just the seller of record or whatever the case may be.
It's now, when y'all do a survey like that, how do you break that down in our community? Here's what I mean by that. We have, the numbers way better than me, but we have tens of thousands of companies and individuals, consultancies, MSPs that sell products in the channel. So how do we know those opinions are qualified and vetted? Here's what I mean by that. Like, you know, it could say I got 1,000 people that have taken a survey, and 500 of them are people that maybe sold one deal here or there.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's not really a full business for them. It's maybe a side hustle for them. Do we have ways of weighting those opinions, accordingly to make sure that the information that you're giving to our community is the very best information
Yeah,
possible?
so we definitely have and can break down numbers by the type of partners that take it, but we also do follow-ups, right? So we've done plenty of studies whereby we get questioned on, yeah, but that's not really, or those maybe aren't the type of partners that we're targeting. So our response to that is to say, okay, well, let's take a look at the types of partners that you're targeting. Let's do a cut of the data or do a follow up with those type of partners and find out for sure if these are the type of partners that you're targeting that that are giving us this type of feedback. And I'll be honest with you, right? Like, not every partner feels the same, and you know this but just as much as I do, right? So,
Mhm.
there could be different partners who say, no, I just want to be based on, just on the transaction, but it's really about, but what are you as a supplier or a vendor looking for? Are you only looking for partners that you currently work with today, and you just want to continue to work with those type of partners, which to me that kind of pigeonholes you into a smaller piece of the overall partner ecosystem? Or do you want to work with those more advanced partners who are, providing more services and providing more value across the customer journey so that you can expand your partner base? Because in most of the interactions that I
Okay.
have with vendors is they want to try to expand their partner base.
Okay. There it is, my friend. There it is. Here's the clear, like, magic takeaway from this for suppliers, for partners. It's all about alignment, my friends. I am not going to, on this platform, dictate to you how you should do business. Sure, I have my opinions in terms of if you want to be successful long term, how you should do business. But how you do business is how you do business. What I mean by that is some of you are transactional, some of you are more consultative. So what I'm hearing from you is more of a focus and importance on alignment and understanding what sort of partner you want. You just told me that 36-ish% of partners want, they want to be compensated through that lifetime, or
Throughout the journey.
all through all aspects of the
Yep.
customer journey. So what I would say is, first, to those partners, do you have the infrastructure to do that? Do you just want to get paid? Because on the supplier end, the supplier saying, "Oh, yeah, bet, yeah, that's cool, I like that." But bro, you come and drop a deal off on my doorstep like an orphan baby, and then you go away. You know what I'm saying? You want to keep getting paid, right? Like, so I think that what I'm hearing from you again is the importance of alignment and understanding from a supplier standpoint. If that is what you want those partners that are going to be life time partners, meaning that they all through that whole customer life cycle, they're going to be engaged. Well, that's not only who you should recruit, but you should qualify people as you're bringing them into your program to make sure that they have a situation that's conducive for that. And on the flip side, if you're that partner that's a part of that 36% that's saying, hey, listen, I want money all the way through. This is a business,
Yes.
baby. It's a business. So you got to have that. You got to be willing to come with your part of it. Because I have conversations after after I can't remember which show, one of our earlier shows, I got some calls from some suppliers that weren't happy. They're like, well, partners, they want everything. They want all this money. And you know what, guys? They're right. This is a business partnership. And if you're long for this business, if you want to have longevity, well, you got to look at that way. Now, I'm not saying that transactional is bad. I'm just saying understand what it is. If you're a transactional, so you want to just come drop the baby off and keep it moving, cool. Have that clear line of communication with the supplier and line up with suppliers that are good with that. and understand that being that type of partner also means that supplier doesn't necessarily want to keep paying you forever. So understand and recognize that. So DeVan, there was your next thing that we had talked about, which I love because I've been talking about this for a very long time. um, First of all, not just me, lots of you guys have been talking about this, and that is the one trick partner,
Mhm.
right? Like back in the day, it was like the, you know, access, like everyone's doing like the one thing, like I'm the
Mhm.
access person. And so I've been saying that that's not the way of the future, not even the future, the present. But you have the data. What does the data tell us?
Well, the data is telling us two things, and the main one is really around the number of services that partners are providing, right? We've done research that says that 80% of partners are providing three or more services today, all right? If you break that number down a little bit further, over 90% actually are providing at least two services today, right? And my understanding is,
Mm.
and I'll have to go back and do some more, historical research, but these are just the most recent numbers. But I would be very non-surprised if that number wasn't lower, say 4 or 5 years ago. So the expectation is that for this trend to continue. One of the things that I did find out, and this is some third party research, this wasn't Canalys in particular, but this group actually put together a number that says on average 3.2 activities that partners provide to their customers along the buying cycle, right? So that kind of aligns with the Canalys data as well, but they put a 3.2 number to it, so just to refine it a little bit, but it all goes to show, just looking at it from the perspective of how many services that partners are capable of, how many solutions that partners have to deal with, how many vendors that partners have to deal with, and understanding that you know partners have a huge responsibility in terms of being able to essentially become, I'm gonna call it a one-stop shop, but something like that in terms of being able to meet all the needs of their customers. And you can't do that if you're only, a one-trick pony. If you're only providing, say, resale, right? Because then the partner's gonna have to go to someone else that can provide managed service, or a partner goes to someone else to provide advisory services, etc. Right? So it's to your benefit that you expand your portfolio, your service base, in order to meet the needs of not only your current customers, but future customers as well, who may be going from just a reseller who's only doing resale to someone else that can provide multiple services because they feel like they don't want to have to deal with 5, 10 different partners to do, you know, 3 or 4 different things.
So what is the trend? What is the trend telling us? Is that number, is it increasing? Is it staying kind of stable? Because what I heard from you is about 3.2 is that number right now. What are you seeing? And what do you anticipate? Do you anticipate that number to stay the same or to grow?
I would say that number should grow. The only caveat, and this is something I don't know, so I'm a realist, so I like to understand and know things that I do know that I don't know. But at this point, is how does AI affect this? Um, because you are hearing a lot more around how people are using AI agents in particular, to provide them with some of the characteristics of the information that they would get from, say, a partner, right? So as a result of that, does AI make the necessarily need for a partner in certain areas less, which means that essentially partners won't necessarily have to do as much for the customer because the customer is using AI agents or something like that to supplement. Or, does it make it even more, right? Does then the partner have to do more to try to, themselves using AI and providing, whatever service that they're providing, on top of, what their current knowledge base. So that one I'm not sure, just because of the AI portion of it, right? Because AI can it can go in two different ways. It can actually, as a partner, can help you and allow you to do more. But it also could help the customer as well and feel like they may not need the partner to do certain things. So that could reduce the need for, partners in terms of certain activities.
Okay, pump the brakes. Hold up. Wait a minute. What did you just say? This is something that we have not been talking about nor thinking about. So everyone is implementing AI, bringing it into their platforms, and it's been somewhat of an exciting time in the technology world because we're implementing that, because we're thinking about ways that we can provide more services, increase revenue generation, all these different things, leveraging AI, and even create new efficiencies in our own businesses. But this is the first time I've heard anyone say something that made me think, oh, shit, there's a threat. Yeah, there is a potential threat in that the use of AI in customers' businesses that we consult with could, in some ways, minimize our impact and thus devalue what it is that we're bringing to the table. Oh, shit. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to bring that back to what you said before of the trend of the 3.2. What that tells me is that we need to have an increased um, focus on bringing as much value as possible. And a tech stack is one of the lowest level, easiest ways to do that, right? So if we're managing 4, 5, 6 different technologies for our customers, that's more value that we're bringing, more impact that we're bringing, the business is stickier, as opposed to if it's 1, 2, or 3. They might look to AI to give them direction on their choices, and not Tim's Telecom. Am I reading that right?
Definitely. I mean, it's. I mean, let's be honest, right? Affects my job as well. I know some of my colleagues have expressed, how AI is affecting the analyst industry. So it's not just partners, but I can associate it with covering the channel market with partners, because I see the threat that could happen in the analyst industry. It could just as well happen in you know channel partner industry, right? So being able
Yeah.
to understand, like you say, how do you add more value beyond just your typical you know uh, channel partner responsibilities, right? Like you say, being able to provide or consolidate more solutions, more complex solutions, providing more services around advisory services on a bigger tech stack, right? Something that most people probably wouldn't have as much confidence using AI to do today. Not to say that couldn't change later, but yes, like looking at those opportunities where those real complex situations, you can help provide better insights on and provide better guidance to your customers on than what say an AI tool could do, and be able to do so with your confidence, your experience, stuff like that. That's very real world, versus something that gets spit out from doing a prompt from an AI tool.
Yeah. Well, and then the information that comes back is only as good as the information it has access to. That's a whole nother
Hmm.
conversation.
Hmm.
So, talk to me about the work that you do as an analyst and why it matters in our industry, why your work matters to the partner and the supplier community.
Oh man, that is a question that I love because everyone feels like they can do analyst work, right? Some try and some are pretty successful. It's not to say that if you're not a analyst firm or research firm, you can't do, market research. I would be lying if I said that. Um, but there are advantages, right? For example, like some of the things that we are able to really provide as a research firm is core information with regards to our data and the resources that we have. So that's an example. Like Canalys has our Barrel, which has over 20,000 partners in our partner base, right? Partners that, suppliers, vendors who we work with, only a handful may be, repetitive. We have a significantly much larger base than what many of them may have access to, in a very diverse space, right? So it kind of goes down to, when you're doing research as a vendor or supplier, and you're trying to not just target and understand what your current base thinks about you or your business offerings, but what are prospects? What are other people that you don't work with think about it? So that's the value that we bring from a diverse database standpoint. There's also the bias that comes along with doing your own research, right? And we understand this. I know before I started working at a research firm, I worked at HP, for example, right? And I know companies like HP and others, right? We have our own, research departments, but there's that reality that when we do those type of research studies in house, there's some inherent bias that we're doing them with. And when we're getting the feedback, of course, like everyone else, you're going to kind of tailor the feedback on what you think should come out of it. With a research firm like us, right, we take that bias out of the equation, right? Because at the end of the day, our biggest value add is to be able to provide you with valuable insights that you wouldn't get by doing it in house, right? So that's the key target for us, is to be able to provide you with supplementary insights that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get if you did it on your own, and ensuring that it's unbiased, also ensuring that it's honest feedback, right? Because usually when you get a survey from someone, I see this all the time, you get a survey from a company, it's about the company, and you kind of worried about, okay, who's going to see it, how are they going to be able to identify me with the information, and if so, are there any repercussions from it? So from that perspective, we're able to kind of cut that out in terms of having the assurance that any information that we get from people that respond to surveys, it's not going to get back to, in anonymous surveys, that it's not going to get back to the people that we're working with for the survey. And then a stat that I've gotten in recently is that for third party research, they're 30% more likely to uncover actionable insights that lead to actual measurable business improvements than if they were done in house. And also time savings, right? 40% less project time and a lower long term cost if you went with a third party research firm than if you did it in house, right? Because a lot of times those in house research, departments, a lot of times can be pretty expensive based on the amount of time and usually smaller resources that they have than if a third party, much larger focus group in terms of the amount of experts that you have and able to do the research with. It usually comes out a little bit cheaper in some cases, depending on the survey, of course. But those things in terms of the amount of time and the amount of resources, um, that could actually benefit someone by going through a third party research firm versus doing it in house. And then also there's the expertise and the best practices, right? we kind of do this in our sleep, right? Let's be honest, right? So being able to go to a company like ours and being able to understand that we have best practices on how to conduct a lot of different types of research. We also have a vast availability of tools. I mentioned the Canalys community that we use, for example, in Canalys, but we have other like very advanced tools in terms of research that we apply when we do, different research studies that most internal research teams don't have or don't possess. And then if they do, you know, it's probably only a couple people within it that actually know it and understand it, where we have a much larger group of people that actually know the different techniques and how to use them for different studies, right? And we're not just using the same technique for every single study, right? We tailor it toward, the type of study that we're doing, the type of audience, and the type of customer that we're working with for the study. So, just all those things put together. And that's not to say that our research couldn't supplement what you do internally, but that goes back to what I was saying before in terms of one of our objectives a lot of times is to make sure that we're providing you with insight that you would not get from what you do internally. So being able to have a holistic view, say you did your own internal research study and then look at ours and then being able to, kind of balance it too and provide you with the best insights.
So let's get kind of like specific and actionable. So I always like to make sure that we leave something, all of our guests leave something that can help people in terms of making impact in their business. And like your shirt says, knowledge, man, knowledge is power.
Knowledge.
And so for those in the community that want to be um, on the cutting edge of information and knowing what's going on, knowing what the trends are. Can you make some recommendations to where they can get access to this knowledge that's out there?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, you mentioned my LinkedIn. So reach out to me for sure. Another thing that I really and this kind of goes back to what you mentioned in the beginning, which I wanted to touch on, but I think now is probably the better time, is understanding the persona of, kind of who you want to target and why, right? Because you gave a great example earlier in terms of, the different types of partners that a vendor may want to work with. Maybe they want to work with some who are only transactional based. Maybe they want to work with some who provide 3 or 4 different types of services, right? I gotta apply the same thing to research, right? So knowing and understanding the type of partners, customers, whoever the case may be, that you want to get feedback from and being able to have that clear idea and work with us to make sure that we're able to get those type of people for the research study and work with you on the type of answers that you need to get addressed to address any of the challenges that you have. So that's kind of the way that I like to work with customers in terms of understanding, right? Like what's your goal, right? Like what do you want to get out of the study, and what are some of the things, the pain points that you have, that your company has, that essentially you need in order to make better decisions about how to go forward. And just having those type of conversations is probably like step one, because it's then building together that relationship of understanding, okay, we now have a better idea of what your pain points are. We know the types of partners that you need to identify to address those pain points, and from there,
Okay.
we just work our magic.
So that's, from a supplier standpoint, they would come to you guys and you could do this sort of in-depth research and studies for them. But like you're just anyone that's in the community, as a partner, as a channel manager, as a channel chief or whatever, and they want to know what's going on. Clearly, like make sure that they're connected to you on LinkedIn. Are there any newsletters or anything else out there that you personally recommend that people can, that are some free resources where they can stay and up to date on what's going on?
Yeah. Um, I'll share some that I go to a lot as well, right? So I go to our channel features website. That's a clear one that I go to a lot in terms of, because it's looking beyond just our team. They provide third party, other some competitive research data on there as well. So I'm looking outside of my own scope. LinkedIn is a good one in terms of I'm on a few different newsletters there. Of course, the channel partners, they have various topics on there that I go to and check out from a channel perspective. Podcasts like yours, right? Being able to get insights
Yeah, and that's
from
something
people.
that you stay on top of. So I know that you've shared. That's why it's important for y'all to connect and follow, because I know that you share these resources in the form of posts. Like you'll share some of the podcasts that you're aware of that are putting out good content that's relevant to our community.
Definitely, definitely. And that's what it is, right? It's a community, right? So being able to, share those different, we say, knowledge
Yep.
with other people, and being able to also use it myself, right? Because I'm someone who, I like to understand, other people's perspective, right? Like you say in all your podcasts, whether you agree with it or not, right? There is some people write back and say they don't agree with what you say. Some people write back and say they do, but at the end of the day, you know how they feel. So that's the go.
That is true, but most importantly, DeVan, that's the reason why I had to have you on, because for all of you that say that I don't know what I'm talking about, the numbers say that I do. That's the only reason why I had DeVan on. That's it. So he can let all y'all know that you're wrong. I'm right. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But again, this conversation is really just been about the importance of data, the importance of the analytics and these things being not only a temperature check to where we are today, but a map to where we need to go, or where we need to go, or where we're
Gosh.
going, either positive or negative. So if you don't know any of these things, you can't make the best decisions for your business, for your channel, for your sales team, and that is not to beat a dead horse, but as we talk about on this show, the evolution of our industry, this is part of it. When I talk about evolution, I'm talking about how do we step up and become better. It's not a disrespect to those that came before. It's not a disrespect to the work that's been done or being done, but we have to do better. It can't just be a gut feelings. It can't just be what we think. And I hear that sort of shit so much, dude, man. Like, oh, I think this. Why do you think that? Oh, it's just the way it is. No, no, it's not. Let the data, let the numbers tell us and inform us. And listen, it's part of my consulting practice. I'm okay with being wrong, but I need to be proven wrong. And I will accept it. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, if we have, and I think that's a success and a growth mindset. Be confident in your opinions, but don't be afraid to have them challenged, and absolutely don't resist changing them when better information becomes available, and it will become available from my man DeVan. That's what we want to do. That's we're gonna. I think I need you to change your
The
profile
man, the
name.
van.
Yeah, I like that. Y'all like that? If y'all like that, let's go. Except we need to add some sort of channel branding in there. But yes, I
Uh,
like that. Listen, it has been really a pleasure to chop it up with you, my guy. And I was looking forward to it. You absolutely came through. Everyone, make sure that you're following DeVan and that you are informed and know what's going on in your world. There's a lot of things going on right now. There's some volatility. So if you certainly want to be on the front end of information and not, on the back end and be sitting on the outside. Any parting thoughts, DeVan?
my last thought is just like you say, man. Knowledge is power. I'll end it how you began it. Knowledge is power, and you know, being able to do exactly like you mentioned, gain new knowledge as we gain new experiences is important to make sure that we're actually improving ourselves and improving the industry that we're in. So, and I'm doing it myself, right? So it's all part of the ultimate goal for, whether I'm a partner or analyst, whatever the case may be, just being able to know that, things are constantly changing around us, and new knowledge, new information is here all the time. And people like me and my team, we're always providing and gathering that information. So we're providing it back to the community so that they're able to use it for their success.
Y'all heard it here first from the man, DeVan. I like that. I like that. We're going. Hey, thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you for gifting us your time. There's no greater honor. So if you hung out with us and watched or listened to this entire episode, know that I sincerely appreciate that you spent the time with us, and it is my commitment to bring you value and impact in your business. If you've liked this, please share it with other folks. We'd love a repost on LinkedIn. We'd love it on whatever platforms you're using. All of this helps. My objective with this is not to be a top 100 podcast. I've been there before. It is to serve our community. That's it. To serve our specific community, the channel community, because it's been so great to me and so great to so many of you. So there's a responsibility that I feel to help it to continue to grow and flourish. So let's keep the dialogues going. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Shut the Hell Up and Sell Unfiltered. If you found today's conversation valuable, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review the show. For more resources, including gap assessments, custom sales consulting, or online courses designed to take your sales game to the next level, visit me at ronnellrichards.com or head over to sayless.academy. Until next time, remember, stop talking, start listening, and shut the hell up and sell.
Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out. Yeah.